I guess congratulations on Obed winning this award. Does it feel like a milestone for the developmental side of the organization?
I don't know if it's a milestone. I think it's just a good reassurance of all the work that goes into it. I think, everybody from, Lauren, our operations, to Wade, to the academy coaches, to the scouts, to people that ultimately bring in the players and surround the players and put them into the best environment possible. And then players like Obed, Reed, Danny, all the homegrowns, they take that environment and they maximize it. I think the other part of that too is, look, every dollar Adrian and the club put into the development side of the club, that's just a future investment in the first team. And now you're seeing that investment that was made years ago, starting to come to fruition. So we're thankful for that. We're thankful for being able to give these players an opportunity. Obed came into the academy when he was 14 years old, just like a lot of them. And, now he's 20 and he's been here 6 years, and he embodies a big part of what we are. And that's, best players are your best people. And if you have that, you have somebody unique. And that's what Obed is.
You spent some time down in Chile watching him play for Mexico. What were your takeaways from his play in particular and sort of more broadly?
Yeah, I think when we go down to these events, such as like a top high potential event with like youth players, U20 World Cup, U17 World Cup, Toulon international events, these markets that we go see players at, it's always, for us, it's a benchmarking event. If you look at, you look at Stewart, you look at Snyder, you look at Obed, you look at the players that we have that fit into that age eligible U20 spectrum, it makes sure that we're on the right path and we're able to see what our players, what we've been able to produce, what they have versus what other national teams don't have, such as Argentina. This player has that. We didn't produce that. We get a good benchmark of, okay, for the next generation, let's improve them in this space because that's what Paraguay did very well, or that's what Japan's doing well. And so hopefully we get a good benchmark of our players, and we also get a good idea that we're keeping on pace with what the world is in terms of football.
What have been some of the changes or tweaks that you've made to the programs over the years that you kind of see to ensure that you get more Obeds?
Yeah, I think in the beginning we were in a building phase. We were trying to get the right staff. We're trying to create the right environment. We're trying to create the right space for these players to thrive. And I think as we went through the years and as we built a good foundation, we started to get much more intentional in what we were doing in terms of, this player needs specifically this. This is the entrance barrier for this player into the first team. So giving them all the resources that they need to have the foundation that they need to be able to take steps into a first team or a pro pathway, but also then, okay, what's going to make them special? What's going to make them unique? Do they have a super talent that we're able to develop a little bit more? Because it's not just about, okay, they don't have this, they don't have that. We got to make that a little bit better. But what they do have and what makes them special and unique and what separates them from their peers, we have to make that almost a super talent. And that's kind of what we've started to do. And again, Wade does a wonderful job of that, going from his days in the academy to the Defiance head coach, all the way now into the director of development. We're just trying to be more intentional in what we do. We're trying to give the right players the right opportunities so that they have the opportunity to be here.
Did you see any forwards down there that were good potentials?
A lot, yeah. We saw a lot of players. We have a pretty good picture of what that space looks like in that age spectrum. Looking at what we have coming internally into our pro pathway, we feel like we're in a pretty good place comparable to what we saw there as well. So we're always going to try to look inside first. Otherwise, the money Adrian's spending to put into the development side, then yeah. So we're always going to look internally, see what we have. If we don't have it, then we'll look outside. But having been there with Sean for the last probably 12 days, I think we're in a pretty good place.
What have you seen from Obed's progression this season that makes him deserving of this recent award?
I think just the consistency in performance. I think when players are young, especially when he was first entering the first team, you'd see this incredible performance where you're like, okay, that's what's going to keep him in this space and able to survive and compete. And then you'd see maybe a drop off in quality, and then you'd see a spike, and then you see a drop off, you see a spike. Now we just see a very flat line of consistent performances, and that for us is him taking next steps as a professional. And now he knows we know, Brian knows, Preki knows, Andy knows, Freddie knows, this is what he's going to provide us. Even if it's not his best day, even if it's not the top end performance that we know he's capable of giving, we're going to get this standard from him. And then he's going to have those spikes where it's like, wow, this is why he's just won this award. This is why he was voted for by the peers in this league as the top U22 player. So
You okay.
I was gonna say, what do you? This is maybe hard to ask, or hard to answer. But what do you see as his realistic ceiling? Is this a player who you expect to see in the next World Cup? Is he someone that you think is going to be playing Champions League?
I think, again, what we always want to provide for the players is that environment for them to succeed. And then Obed's going to take it from there, or Danny's going to, whoever that homegrown is that is there. But we know and we feel that we have the right space, we have the right environment for these players to take next steps. Obed's always been, again, we talk about learning capacity as one of the most important traits within a young player. You know, how long does it take them to take on information? How long does it take them to be able to execute what we're asking? And when we see these top players, the ones behind us that are training in there as well, their learning curve is so fast that it's almost immediate in that effect, where it takes 1 or 2 sessions, or it takes 1 or 2 talks, or it takes 1 or 2 video sessions with Johnny, and all of a sudden they're executing exactly how we want it. So for Obed, knowing that what we've been able to provide from the environment with the resources that we have here, when he's ready to take next steps, he's going to take next steps. And from there, you know, he's going to be just fine. Even from again, he's unique in the sense that even from a young age, he knew where he wanted to go, and everything's been self-regulated, and everything's been in the pursuit of that. So for Obed, the best thing we did was stay out of his way. And that's what we feel he's having so much success now.
That's a pretty unique trait though that he has? I mean, are you finding more young players have that kind of that goal, especially like specialization in sport is really big, or actually it's almost cemented now. I mean,
Yeah.
you see that.
Yeah, we look at, again, I think he's like a Norwegian sports scientist, Coat, and he talks about early specialization in players. And again, from ages, 6 to 12, a diversity of things are very important for the players. But then once 12 to 14 hits, starting to specialize within the sport that they're going to eventually go into, that's the critical moment for us. Obed has some interesting, I think, environmental factors that aided in his development. Growing up in Alaska, he spent a lot of time playing indoors, which means higher density of touches for every training session on the ball. It means a lot less time and space, so the constraint of the game was always magnified for him. And so having gone through that process and then coming into a place now where there's 120 yards with length and there's about 80 yards of width, the small indoor fields he's coming from that helped aid his environmental development when he was in Alaska. You can now see it, his ability to carry space with the ball, his ability to beat players 1v1, all these things environmentally that were there because of that early specialization in the sport, we're starting to see it a little bit more. So I think to go back to your original question, we see it, but we also try to create it. And as long as we can create it with the right constraints and the right level of resistance, then they can take